Hello, and welcome to this channel, Scarab Sister School. We talk about things that would be covered in a homeschool, like art, music, science, culture. Sometimes we travel. Sometimes we just pretend travel from home on YouTube. I have a friend who says you can go anywhere on YouTube. So that's basically our theme here. We're so glad you're here. We believe in building a better world for our children, our grandchildren, and 7 generations. Today, I'm going to go back in history. On our trip in New York, we went to the Metropolitan Art Museum on 5th Avenue. I want to give a little bit of history of the Met before talking about Egypt, and then I'll show you the Egyptian artifacts and the Temple of Dendur, and also Cleopatra's Needle. And we've been to Times Square. What about the museums? Should we go to the Met? Do you like beautiful art that makes you re-examine what it means to be human? That is from that movie, Set It Up, with Zoe Dutch, who is Leah Thompson's daughter, which I think is really cool. I love Leah Thompson from the 80s. It also has Taye Diggs and Lucy Liu. It can be confusing when you hear the Met. Are we talking about the Metropolitan Museum on 5th Avenue or the Metropolitan Opera House? Well, I'm talking about the Metropolitan Art Museum on 5th Avenue. The Metropolitan Opera House is actually located on the opposite side, so the west side of Central Park. That's actually in Lincoln Center. I've never been to the Metropolitan Opera House. I've never seen an opera. I was at Lincoln Center when I was 15. I saw The Twelfth Night, which was actually featuring Kyra Sedgwick, Philip Bostwick, and Paul Rudd. I've always loved Paul Rudd from the 90s, so it was exciting to me to see him, although I couldn't follow Shakespeare at the time. Studying it now in our homeschool, I've found out that The Twelfth Night is supposed to be one of Shakespeare's best plays, one of the best representations of human nature that we have in a play. The Met is a really wonderful fine art museum that has had several different locations in New York, and now the location on 5th Avenue, it's been there since 1880. First, it was at a location called the Dodsworth Building. The Dodsworth Building was at 681 5th Avenue.
In the year 1870.
Then it was at 128 14th Street, before moving to its final location, where it is now. The building was described as Gothic Revival at the time. From what little tiny bit I've studied of architecture in our homeschool, I thought this looks more Greek Revival. Confusing, but not so confusing if you realize that the actual building is in the interior of what you see now. The Egyptian wing started in 1978 and it's called the Sackler Wing. We love the Ben Stiller movie, Night at the Museum. And in that movie, the first part of it, you see lots of dinosaurs and the scenery that you have with the wildlife at the American Museum of Natural History. But you don't have the Egypt stuff at the American Museum of Natural History. The Egypt stuff is, of course, at the Met. You see a lot of mummies, a lot of really beautiful jewelry, probably children's toys, so many sculptures. Mummies were very interesting. They were actually very in style back in the 1800s. Mummies were mostly dug by rich people doing it for a hobby, and so actually, since they weren't trained archaeologists, it's said that they damaged a lot of the materials, and so we would actually have even more artifacts from ancient Egypt today had that not been how it worked out. But there's still plenty in Cairo, I think is how you say it, in Egypt. They have over 100,000 artifacts. And also in the British Museum in London, they have a lot of artifacts. It's said that they have more than the Met, is what I heard in one source. One source, I also heard that the Met actually has the most out of Cairo. So if you know also in the comments the facts there, let me know. I didn't have time to figure it out before making this video. In the 1800s, they also had mummy parties. It's not exactly what it sounds like. It was a mummy unwrapping event. It was usually more academic than like an actual party, kind of like medical theater where everyone would watch as something's being done on a table. Mark Twain talked about how mummies were used as fuel for some of the ships. Whether or not this is true, I don't know. I've heard that nothing Mark Twain said was true, that he was more of like a cultural and reporter, kind of like he spoke of legends and trends. But who knows? So he said that they made the perfect fuel because they were wrapped in resin, is what stuck the cloths or the linens together. And he said they stacked perfectly like cords of firewood. So who knows if that's true, but there were very strange things done with mummies in Europe. One of the things, King Charles II, he liked to sprinkle the mummy, ground up mummy on himself to quote unquote absorb the greatness. Other people like to take it internally as medicine. One of the weird things is that it was promoted to artists, ground up into paint, and it made a paint called mummy brown or Egyptian brown. Edward Byrne burned his paint when he found out. There was one artist who actually took his tube of mummy brown paint out back and had a burial ceremony for it. Martin Drolling's 1814 painting, The Interior of a Kitchen, was done with mummy brown. One of the beautiful treasures of the Met's Egypt is actually outside. It's Cleopatra's Needle, and then they also have the ancient playground. And that we saw the night before we actually went inside. So I've already posted some of that, but I'm going to put it at the end of this video too. There's another Cleopatra's Needle in England. They take some damage to the weather and they're studied, and they used to be together in Egypt, but now they're separated, one in New York and one in London. So that's interesting. It echoes the British Museum that I mentioned in London and the Met having all of the Egyptian artifacts. The night that we spent at the ancient playground was one of the best nights because it just felt like we were just kind of hanging out in the neighborhood, and it was at the golden hour. Our kids were able to run around and it felt very safe. Making this video, of course, inspired me to do more research on ancient Egypt and the Egyptian Empire. Again, in Night at the Museum, there's a golden book, if you've seen the movie, and that's what is like the magic thing that makes everything come to life at night. There's actually legend that that was a real book. It was made of pure 24 karat gold. I haven't been able to find much about this. When I start searching the Amun-Ra on YouTube, all I can find is about the god Amun-Ra. He was kind of like the sun god. He represented the sun, which it said that the sun hid behind the scarab beetle. And you know, this channel's called Scarab Sister School, so there's lots more research I want to do on the meaning of the scarab and the sun and Amun-Ra the book, as well as the god. Say this is our last and most exciting, maybe not most exciting, we'll see, the last thing we're gonna do.
Oh, it is the most exciting.
Loretta's most excited about it, but we've done a lot of really exciting things. This is the last. We spent the morning with Noemi. She has a beautiful apartment. And then we went and walked on the waterfront. And then, so we saw the Statue of Liberty. had some quinoa and some eggs and beans for breakfast. And now we're looking at mummies.
Perfectly preserved skeleton of a cat just reaching maturity whose neck was broken.
Oh my gosh, where? Which one? A cat that just reaching maturity, his neck was broken, huh?
Yeah, the one with the blue.
They found that just like that?
Yeah. They did x-rays and they left it pissed off.
Wow. Cat person. Oh yeah. Best leading bronze and metal and black bronze. What are we looking at, Nanda? That one they say is not anything, it's a substitute?
Well, it was made for like a falcon, but it's a substitute.
Oh, like it's just like a model?
Yeah.
Or a substitute?
Oh, these three down here are the rest of the
What's this? Dog, shrew, bundle containing shrews, animal cults. Apis bull is a living manifestation of God.
pharaohs and goddesses. Actually, they're all pharaohs. Pharaohs are like goddesses. But they're that one does.
I know, it's like the best. Excuse us. It's like if all we ever had to study was Egypt and nothing else in history, we could still be totally busy, right? That's what we figured out, studying. The Temple of Dendur is actually humidity controlled to be just like the climate is in Egypt, which obviously, of course, is going to be the best to preserve these wonderful artifacts. Sure. Hirbi Bar on YouTube has a great video where he goes with one of his old high school teachers to the Met, and they walk nearly 10 miles, and the Met is actually 2 million square feet. That's maybe for now. Skirt is so pretty in the videos. Shiny. Pictures really catches the light. It blends in with the colors. New York City, all the gold. There's a lot of gold. Yeah, but you know, pulling like always. Right? Yeah. Doesn't like squirrels. Yeah, it is. It's Cleopatra's Needle.
This?
Doesn't fit the whole thing, okay?
What do you mean needle? A needle?
I don't know. Ananda, ask Ananda. She seems to be familiar with what it
What's
is.
Cleopatra's needle? Needle.
All I know is that's what it's called.
The Egyptians, remember?
Oh,
Like the closest relatives to Egyptians.
I think they just tried to figure it out and they don't really know if they're right?
Well, I think it sounds pretty accurate.
Oh, you do?
Didn't they have the Rosetta Stone? Maybe they got
Oh,
a
right.
relative,
Rosetta
an
Stone.
Egyptian relative of an Egyptian. No, like very.
I hope that we helped you in some way feel and absorb ancient Egypt. Our next video will cover more things of the Met. The Egyptian part of the Met was definitely more than we bargained for. We didn't expect to see so many amazing artifacts. We really hope that you have a good weekend and you'll tune in again and tell your friends and like and subscribe. Traveling is so awesome, and studying and drawing and doing crochet for ancient Egypt. Have a great weekend.